But danger is still danger. She doesn't want to fall into the situation of the white-headed man sending the green-headed man away. He immediately remembered Chan Ho's words. 99% of families would object to their relatives wanting to become hunters. The remaining 1% would be thrown out of the house. The current situation is exactly like that. That puppy is right. The mother continued to talk about the possible consequences and that she would not be able to live. But Dia Sung said that he had already signed a contract with Chan Ho's family. The younger sister was startled. Signing the contract meant signing a contract with his soul, meaning his soul would be attached to his best friend's family. He nodded, then pulled out his magic. His hand went through the blue gate, surprising the other two. What are you suddenly doing, brother? What he pulled out from that gate was a pile of cash. He loudly said that I had received a large amount of compensation from the Soul family. With this amount of money, we can pay off the debt and use the remaining amount for living expenses. Seeing the pile of fresh money in front of them, their eyes lit up. This was the first time they had received such a large amount of money. Dia Sung told his mother and sister not to be surprised because he would earn more in the future. Jisoo just needs to listen to her mother more and focus on studying. And her mother can spend freely without worrying about money. He raised his face proudly. From now on I will protect you too. This statement made his mother and sister move to tears and tried to hold back. Oh hey, you two have to cheer up. What's with that reaction? Making her mother nod that her child had grown up. She immediately wiped away her tears. Jisoo also had to admit that her brother had earned money. So her thinking had changed. If this is the reward when he returns from the temple, he is completely satisfied with it. It can help his family escape poverty and have a better life. Now I see that life is 10 points happy and not miserable. At the Hunter Association's training ground, a giant monster bared its teeth and used a scratch to attack an employee. This was Dong Ji-yu, who stabbed to death his superior at Lee Soku's office. He cried and screamed, motionless before the demon's aura. Suddenly, an employee wearing glasses rushed forward and kicked it in the face. Just in time to save the employee who was falling to the ground. Are you scared just like that? The employee pushed down his glasses and smiled brightly. Dong Ji-yu had tears in his eyes and looked at him with a miserable and trembling appearance. The person who had just saved him was the deputy director of the association. Standing behind him was the branch manager. He admitted that this was his fault. He did not expect that Lee Soku would do such things. Dong Ji-yu spoke bitterly. He shouldn't have messed with that bastard. He definitely had to take his head to avenge the sudden death of his poor boss. Then cried out of hatred. In person, suddenly, a voice called out to the branch manager from behind, causing him to turn and respectfully greet the chairman. This chairman is Park Young-ho, whom Lee Soku hates so much, and is ordering everyone from the Hunter Guild to go away. Hearing that, the branch manager wondered, did he also take the staff on duty at the gate? Park Young-ho did not change his mind, still extremely determined to destroy the Red Devil and bring Lee Soku here. If he resisted, he could bring his head back. The next morning, the loud alarm woke up Dia Sung, who immediately complained that it was too noisy. He was about to pick up his phone and scroll through the top to see the girls. But suddenly there were 101 new messages. So he was extremely surprised. He quickly went to read through the messages. They were all recruitment announcements from companies, both large and small families, interview invitations, and even a director texting him to appear in a movie. Yet our male lead foolishly thought that this was a painful spam message. And his path to becoming an idol was cut off like a power outage. After surfing for a while longer, he saw a message from Chan Ho left last night. Call me as soon as you wake up. He immediately went out to the yard and called his friend to ask what was so urgent. Chan Ho on the other end of the line, howling with excitement. We won the bid for Gate C. My dear, I don't know what Gate C is. But Dia Sung roared with excitement. Now the money will flow like a stream. All you need to do is sew a 1,000-ton bag to carry it and carry it. Just early in the morning, a busy line of cars from both the investigation department and the association lined up in front of the Red Devil's headquarters. A force of carefully equipped hunters and powerful inspectors disembarked from the vehicle and quickly lined up in a serious line in front of the entrance. Following the orders of A-level awakener Jin Ki-hong. Jin Ki-hong dressed in red and stood out. Looking like a senior collecting debt. Order the hunter team to attack first. The rest will follow if the target resists and kill without mercy. Anyone who refuses to cooperate with the fake awakening group will be allowed to be eliminated. Hyo Dong-ji-yu also participated in this campaign. Determined to avenge his old feud, Jin Ki-hong shouted loudly and attacked. There were loud footsteps around every corner of the company. In the quiet darkness amid the ruckus outside, a man with a white suit face sat neatly on a chair. That was the Ice Soul leader Wang Jun-young. But he was breathing heavily and sweating profusely as if he had just gone through a fierce battle. In the hallway leading to Lee Soku were several subordinates lying unconscious. Right in front of the office there were also signs of a heated fight. The door of the room also opened wide, allowing Dong Ji-yu to easily rush straight inside. Where is that son of a bitch Lee Soku hiding? If you're smart, come out. Dong Ji-yu held the sword in his hand and screamed wildly. But as soon as he lowered his head, he saw that bastard lying right in front of him. His entire body was covered in blood. His arms and legs were broken, and a huge hole was punched in the middle of his chest. His mouth was open, showing extreme horror, showing that he had been killed in an extremely brutal way. Just a few seconds later, a group of people also came and saw Wang Jun-young sitting listlessly on a chair, making Ki-hong and everyone extremely surprised. Why are you dead, you son of a bitch? Wake up quickly. You are only allowed to die by my sword. A series of angry curses rang out, causing his eyes to immediately move to Dong Ji-yu, who was about to go crazy, and immediately sat down to examine the cruel leader's body. Ki-hong encouraged him not to cause trouble anymore. This guy was killed a long time ago. Angry, tightening his jaw, Dong-gu's hand holding the sword kept shaking because he had to restrain the fire of hatred. Ki-hong is questioning Wang Jun-young again. Even if it's a personal vendetta. You're being too cruel. He frowned angrily, causing his veins to flare up. The subordinates outside were indeed killed by him. But not Lee Soku. Hearing that, Ki-hong's face turned pale. Who did this terrible thing? In an old building, the sound of the morning news column echoed from the room. The newscaster was reporting on the death of the leader of the Red Gang Ma Lee Sok Ji-yu. Currently the top suspect is the leader of the Ice Soul Gang, Wang Jun-young. Most of Hong Ma's employees died, and the investigation department also discovered and confiscated a large amount of opium at the scene. Damn it, why is no one calling me like this? Jin Sang angrily checked his phone and then snapped. Not paying any attention to the news. He created his own guild because no one wanted to recruit him. If we don't kill any monsters at this rate, I'll be screwed. Suddenly the phone rang, making him completely bald. He sadly picked it up to check if it was a spam message or something. But no, his eyes widened in surprise, happily smiling from ear to ear. At the same time, in Chan Ho's car, Dia-sung was depressed as he had to listen to his friend sing a reformed song because he had rejected all the companies in the top 10. More importantly, this idiot even criticized your Ice Soul. The equipment and facilities here are top-notch at CHOP. Something ordinary hunters can't even imagine in their wildest dreams. But I'm sorry, but that pile of junk isn't even worth a fraction of the items I own. I'm afraid he'll faint if I bring it up. We had to quickly change the subject first to stop the old friend from opening his mouth. He glanced over and wondered if this C-class gate was making a lot of money. I thought I had escaped the accident. But no, baby. Chan Ho jumped up and cursed out of control. The fee to complete the gate for a large vehicle class is 50 billion. Idiot. If you deduct all taxes and fees, you still have 30 billion left. What the fuck? Now it's Dia-sung's turn to follow suit. He's a robber and he's taxing so exorbitantly. Seeing his friend so panicked, Chan Ho had to eat immediately. Don't worry, just get the ET, will earn more. I just called the executive assistant. But Chan Ho doesn't feel secure when his friend has to do the mission alone. Who said I would go alone? He scowled at you and then calmly added, of course you have to come with me. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became strangely silent. Chan Ho felt dumbfounded and sat as still as a mussel. Then pretended to be deaf. What did you just say? But as a good friend, Dia Sung did not hesitate to repeat. I have assigned you to be my assistant. That complicated paperwork process didn't suit him. After all, there were already acquaintances here. So why not take advantage of it? I just feel sorry for Chan Ho, who is in crisis. A desk worker like me going into those places is no different from going to a dead place. The Class C gate is being guarded extremely securely. Anyone who wants to enter needs to present a permit. Chan Ho sighed and pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to the guard. The contents inside surprised him a bit. The rice byproduct disposal attack team consisted of 2 members. A rank hunter, Han Dia Sung, and executive assistant Sung Chan Ho. A gate with this large number requires at least 100 C rank hunters. But how can they deal with this level of manpower? Do you think so too? Chan Ho hurriedly said when he saw the guard's confusing reaction. This crazy guy insisted on rushing in there. Even though you tried everything to stop him. He's almost 30 years old. But he's still a virgin. And even if he dies, he won't be able to close his eyes. This is certainly not normal. But according to the association's rules, the guard still has to open the gate to let them in. He secretly looked behind him. Why did he let a psychopath and a mentally retarded guy go on a mission together? Meanwhile, Chan Ho still tried his best to advise his friend to think again. No matter how great his potential is, this is still a C-class gate with a large number. Even the top 10 guilds have to deal with it. Be careful. Before he could finish the bridge, Dia Sung grabbed him by the neck and dragged him away. He didn't have to worry about himself. He had to worry about their family. Chan Ho shouted in fear. At least let me call my family. Then tried to put his foot down to stop the crazy guy but failed. If anything goes wrong, I'll fall right there. If anything happens, don't show up and haunt me. You crazy person. But I don't mind if you give me a tip. In another development, the truth about Lee Soku's death was gradually revealed. His usual arrogant appearance had disappeared, replaced by an extremely weak image. Kneeling on the ground, his face showed extreme fear. A huge stream of energy suddenly spread out, lifting him high and stretching his body straight. But it wasn't magic or Sailor Moon transforming. Lee Soku begged in pain but only made the situation worse. His arms and legs began to be easily broken as if they were not made of frost, leaving only screams full of agony echoing in the space. What created that source of pressure was this giant demon eye. It seemed to be looking at the man writhing in pain in front of him. A hand suddenly shot out from inside the eye and rushed straight towards Lee Soku. His eyes widened in horror. The other hand was squeezing his red heart. His white eyes gasped. A few weak sounds. The other hand held the heart and retracted it back into the eye. Which was also the moment Lee Soku's body fell into the bag. Finally, the image of Lee Soku lying dead on the floor was shown on the screen in a conference room. It was unknown who killed him. Association President Park Dong-ho asked in a deep voice. Ki Hong shook his head. There was only one CTV in the room. The hunters and the inspection team were still actively investigating further and currently there was only this much left. Weather. The branch manager also immediately reported the autopsy situation. We still haven't determined whose aura skill it belonged to. Is this really the work of a ghost? The chairman was holding his luck, thinking nervously. Something? At that time, at the C-class gate, the bald man Jin Sang suddenly appeared, smiling happily and walked forward. Good day, soldier. I am Han Dia Sung, the person in charge of the byproduct collection process today. The security guard was surprised because he arrived so early. Dia Sung and his group had only been there for 30 minutes. It would probably take a long time to finish. But he didn't care. He just focused on asking if today's hunter was Han Dia Sung. The other soldier checked the information and it was true, making Jin Sang extremely happy and exclaimed that it was great. Luck was on his side. He was so lucky that he didn't depend on any guild. So he didn't miss this morning's message. Han Dia Sung is truly a jackpot lottery ticket that he must grasp firmly to change his life. Back on the day of the hunter exam, inside a cave in the snowy mountain on the second level of the exam, Some strange energy source was wriggling like worms. That hideous thing was two halves of flesh and blood. Of Jin Chun trying to hold together. The physical pain could not compare to the mental humiliation, causing him to shed tears, vowing that he must survive to take revenge. A strange space gate suddenly appeared right in front of you, accompanied by a high-pitched voice hissing. Do you want revenge? Do you want me to give you unrivaled power in the world? He quickly looked up through the tears, immediately seeing the giant demon eyes that killed Lee Soku staring at him. As if enjoying a delicious piece of bait, Dia Sung and his wise friend entered the gate, a remote and desolate place where the wind howled every now and then, causing Chan Ho to look worriedly. This was the first time he went into a gate, so he couldn't help but tremble in fear. But the crazy guy was excitedly walking around, admitting that this gate was really good and had a large quantity. What? Chan Ho, who was naked and trachoma-eyed, strained his eyes and still only saw a swarm of black people rushing towards him, not knowing what was inside. But less than a second later, the rapid footsteps of a legion of demons as crowded as ants rang out. Looking back from afar, all we could see was white smoke and dust, scaring Chan Ho and leaving him speechless. These blue-skinned, red-eyed, muscular monsters are lizards of the evil realm, a dangerous species considered to be in the third tier. They pounced on humans like hungry ghosts. The fragrance emanating from the two of them made them extremely excited. Pulling out the Wa Din sword from the inventory, Dia Sung confidently pointed the sword at the demons. This stage is probably known as the endgame. Seeing that his friend was still catching up, he knelt down and said, "Look closely at Sung Chan Ho." Then he swung his sword straight up into the sky, making his friend's eyes widen in surprise. "Where are you going, my friend?" The demons were still running around below without realizing it. He was right above waving his sword, preparing to strike and send them all back to hell. Dia Sung crashed down into the middle of the enemy's siege, creating a powerful earthquake, activating Hell's third special skill, stabbing the sword straight down. His whole body burst into intense aura and shouted a mountain fire. A fire flared up from where he was and quickly spread everywhere, burning the demons. They screamed as they were engulfed in a sea of indifferent flames. An entire army of demons was burned into a large amount of roasted meat in the blink of an eye. The whole area became a plain filled with scattered flames that looked like a hellish scene. Faced with that scene, Chan Ho wondered, "Is that the guy you used to know who was miserable and took off his cage to shower in the rain?" Dia Sung stood proudly in the middle of the dead corpses of the demons, commenting on the burning smell as he walked. Like the smell of grilled fish. It turns out that lizards do not smell like roasted meat but smell like that. Cruel guy. Chan Ho bowed his head, took a deep breath, then rapped and cursed his friend with an angry finger pointing. "You bastards have dared to hide your profession for so long. Why didn't you say from the beginning that you were so strong? It took all the effort I needed to lose my pants and still have to worry about you." Having enough time to put away the mirror, he calmly spit out a sentence. "Now that you know, stop complaining." "Okay, friend." Chan Ho's face suddenly lit up and was full of vitality. "I've decided that we have to build a new one." The friends were stunned and didn't understand what the hell they were forming. Chan Ho immediately said to form a new association. "We don't just stop at Korea. We have to reach out internationally and become the biggest association in the fucking world." At that time outside, less than an hour had passed when the gates suddenly swirled and rustled several times, causing the security guards to frantically call the media team. Only Jin Sang was alert enough to shout stop. Someone out there successfully helped the two soldiers stop panicking but instead turned their eyes wide in surprise. Dia Sung and Chan Ho were comfortably stepping out of the gate, confidently striding like runway floor models. Chan Ho turned to instruct the soldier who was standing still. The gate had been cleared. "You guys just needed to deal with the rest." He was sweating and couldn't believe his eyes. How the hell was he so fast? On the other side, a business card of Salmuk's Assistant Association with the representative Han Dae Sung of Border Class. Phone number 1,900,101 was held out in front of Dia Sung. Who else but Jin Sang would do this? The bald old man constantly flattered him to the skies. and at the same time claimed to be the one responsible for handling today's remaining matters. The only thing that reached Dia Sung's ears was that this person had the same name as him. And Chan Ho was surprised that there were so many things that only one person could do. But the bald man immediately lied that the rest of the team was on their way. Chan Ho gave him his business card back but quickly gasped at the familiar name. Seeing that, Jin Sang excitedly gave a thumbs up. Don't worry, I will definitely preserve the reputation of this name. If you need cleaning service, just call me. Then bow down to say hello. Chan Ho didn't pay much attention to this guy, so he hurriedly chased after Dia Sung, who was sulking ahead. He wants to be a unique person and doesn't want to have the same name as anyone else. Does it sound unreasonable? In a high-end apartment building, the broker is enthusiastically introducing this as the floor with the most beautiful view. Living room with modern layout but no less luxurious and comfortable. Mom, each room has its own bathroom. Jisoo excitedly stuck her head out to show it to her mom. Seeing that, the mother turned around and asked the broker how much the apartment was worth. It's only 15 million, but that's a lot, he happily replied immediately. The mother was immediately shocked. What did you say? 15 million? 15 million won seems to be about 270 billion Vietnamese dong. My dear friends, the broker immediately explained that because the Hunter Association was nearby, surrounding land prices were pushed up. In times of chaos like this, safety is always the top priority. And isn't your son a rising star in the Hunter village? You said it right. My brother is an A-rank hunter and is still being considered for S-rank. Jisoo jumped out of nowhere and flexed right away, always making Dia Sung a bit shy. The mother smiled happily, not expecting that one day her daughter would boast about her brother with such pride. Seeing that his mother and sister both seemed to like this apartment, he immediately asked if he paid in one lump sum. Would he get a discount? As happy as having won gold, the broker immediately started talking, showing off his ability to close the deal in one fell swoop. He will break the rules and immediately sign a contract with Dia Sung because he is an A-level hunter but cannot reduce the price. Because this area has hunters guarding it 24/7 plus a prime location and classy design, the price is too reasonable. And the equally important reason is that S-rank hunter Lee Chongshik also lives here. After listening to Dia Sung, his ambition immediately flared up. Can I get a discount on S-rank? Slightly intimidated by his power, the broker chuckled. S-rank could cost 8 million less. Wow, 8 million. The mother and daughter gasped in surprise. What kind of incentive was so great? Dia Sung was equally excited. Can I buy this place for only 7 million? Then it's too good. Late at night on a quiet street, the girl was walking home. But her sixth sense told her, it seemed like someone was following her. So she kept looking around nervously. Then she quickly walked faster but suddenly bumped into the person in front. She fearfully raised her eyes and stammered, asking, "You, who are you? Don't be afraid." A strange voice came from the hooded man with a large body in front, sharp teeth appearing on his hideous face. Tell people not to be afraid but look at the disgusting bullets. Would you be crazy to not be afraid? Looking at the girl with a strange face, she said, "You have been chosen so you should be grateful." Then he burst out laughing. The last thing he saw was the girl's eyes of utter horror. The next day at the National Police Agency, in the forensic examination room, the short-haired girl died in the same condition as Lee Soku. This is already the 10th victim in Seoul. It is possible that other places may have similar incidents. The police are being forced to conduct a public investigation to appease people's anger. Ki Hong is also here to check the body. Normal people cannot do this. It is definitely caused by an awakened maniac. Through recent deaths, Ki Hong concluded that the murderer was the same person. A cold-blooded person with a perverted hobby of taking human hearts as trophies. Leave this case to me, Captain. Yoon-gu's words interrupted Ki Hong's thoughts. But he couldn't entrust this case to him. Yoon Ji-yu still holds a personal grudge against the murderer of Lee Soku. And this guy is also talented. But being that talented, haste can easily ruin things. So Ki Hong decided to send him back to the base to focus on searching for new gates. Leaving his subordinates bewildered and ignorant. Turning to the fat man in the corner of the room, Ki Hong proposed to strongly and skillfully dispel public pressure by accepting a public investigation of this case, and at the same time asking for the help of the police investigation team to fight the murderer once and for all. In a certain laboratory, Jin Chun vaguely lifted his eyelids after a long period of unconsciousness, suddenly opened his eyes and screamed frantically. But his stiff body did not move. I was filled with anger and fear as I didn't know which cell I was being locked in. I glanced over and saw a guy wearing a blue shirt saying something in the distance. Bolo Bala. The old man suddenly scowled and looked over with joy because Jin Chun had finally woken up, while he laughed contemptuously at the blonde-haired man's screams like newborn babies. Damn, where the hell is this? Jin Chun angrily gritted his teeth and asked. The old man coldly gave a strange smile and replied, don't you think it's familiar? It looked exactly like the Crimson Demon's laboratory, making Jin Chun panic and think about the room that pumps banned substances to those who have awakened. Look at your stupid face. He burst out laughing. Luckily Lee Sekwu's medicine still had some effect, so I specifically asked the head pastor to save you. After that taunt, he introduced himself as Joman, an elder of Hansi. Now Jin Chun remembers the eye that appeared that day. That thing saved his life. Joman smirked and announced that you had been reincarnated as Hansi's person. But he still didn't understand what Hansi he was talking about was. If it was an organization of mentally perverted people, I would strongly criticize him. Like in a movie where this guy knew he was on the mental list and asked. Joman excitedly smiled, showing his 10 protruding teeth a tube of solution. This thing will give you unbelievable power. Star, do you want to rule this torn world with us? At the Hunter Association, Chan Ho was preparing his resignation letter while talking on the phone with his friend who was insisting on climbing to S rank. It's too bad, my friend. We have to correct this guy right away, because now dealing with the new gates is the top priority. But he immediately became upset when he learned that the newspaper guy wanted to promote himself so he could get a 50% discount on his house purchase, and also forced him to find as many portals as possible. Why don't you climb on top of me and sit there? Even though he had a headache from Dia Sung's requests, Chan Ho still said, okay, where can I find a good friend like me? But because there were still many procedures to handle before quitting his job, he carefully told his friend to go buy more equipment at Oros Market first. At that moment, he suddenly remembered that he had been busy with a lot of work recently, so he forgot to do the item quest, and quickly called the system to do it. The system gave him 6 options to choose from, including the Predator's Forest, the Demon King's Territory, the Fire Lord's Territory, the Extinct Dinosaur's Lair, Balark's Castle and finally the Valley. Spider. Dia Sung did not hesitate to choose the 5th castle of Balark. The system immediately prepared to carry out the mission, and at the same time provided him with some information. The rulers of each place were being brainwashed by the superior forces of heaven. Requires him to defeat the brainwashed ruler in each place, change the law of cause and effect and remove the seal between time and space. The system also asked him if he wanted to re-download the data on diary page 212 about Balark's castle on the 45th day of 78 years ago. If you ask too much, of course you say yes. Only an idiot would disagree. So a series of images of those old days seemed to come alive again before Dia Sung's eyes. This time he wasn't in as much pain as before, but looking back he still felt bitter. His sharp eyes were burned by the fire of autumn hatred. Balark's iron castle appeared towering with a bolt of lightning at the top. Far below a glowing space gate. Holding a shield in one hand, he emerged with a sword in the other. He appeared sullenly wearing a warrior outfit that looked unbearably corny. Dia Sung was frustrated and always sighed deeply. Is he any different from a farmer growing vegetables? Returning to the headquarters of the Hunter Association, dozens of newspapers with sensational headlines announcing the serial killer or the police's cooperation with the Hunter Association were lying on the table. Sending out the main news. Check out the groups and post on the Hunter newsletter. Just after assigning work, the office door suddenly opened and the manager's voice rang out, causing him to turn around and not understand what was going on. The short-haired employee named Ajang hurriedly ran in to report. The Hai-Duang Association was unable to handle the B-class gates. The manager looked suspicious. Isn't that association in the top 4 associations in Korea? Or what? They even own B Cuisine. So there must be a lot of A-rank awakened people. Inside that gate, a scene of devastation appeared. An entire neighborhood was heavily destroyed with buildings leaning and broken. The place was as quiet as if there was no one left. In contrast to that dreary scene, at the Hope Welfare Institute, children were innocently playing on the playground. The two boys were arguing back and forth because neither of them was willing to be a monster, causing this man in a red suit to intervene to make peace. He is S-rank hunter Seo Dong-chul, 35 years old this year, belonging to the Bird Association, holding the top 2 position nationwide. His sudden appearance made the two boys angry. Their eyes widened and they called monsters. Wow, you dare call me a monster? Seo Dong-chul immediately rushed to fight with this group of mischievous people. The whole group was making a loud noise when they were interrupted by the worried call of a nun. Seo Dong-chul was being grabbed by a few boys on his head and neck. Wondering what was going on, the nun smiled kindly and handed the phone to him, saying she had news from the Hunter Association. Oh my god, this association doesn't give me a single day of rest. Seo Dong-chul lost interest and told the nun to take care of the children. And he had to immediately go handle a gate according to the association's instructions. The nun called out, "Director, be careful, don't get hurt again. Have you forgotten who I am?" His brother turned around confidently, smiling brightly. "I am Seo Dong-chul, the #1 hunter in southern Korea. There are only a few demons, but I accept them all." At that time, in Jeju-do, a C-class gate was being strictly guarded, with a group of hunters lined up in 2 rows waiting for someone to appear. A pair of strong legs stepped out from the gate. A warrior with white hair and a beautiful shirt. Like someone in hell, he stepped out, side and side, criticizing this gate as being ordinary. This is the famous Lee Chong-sik, only 28 years old, the #1 hunter in Korea. This name is also the 3rd-generation heir of the Jo Sung Group. The leader in the business world. He's handsome, talented, and has a big family on the street. What a great design. The quintessence that women love so much. As soon as the staff saw Lee Chong-sik step out, they respectfully bowed their heads to congratulate the boss on his successful return. The beautiful secretary next to her immediately reported that Baek Ha-jin of the Hai-Duang Association had just sent an invitation to cooperate in raiding a gate of the association. Just hearing that name, his brother's eyes lit up like stars because this Baek Ha-jin was so beautiful. Oh my dear, be careful of that stupid girl and that forever numb ending. At that moment, a helicopter flew over to pick this guy up from work. It looked like this was the main male protagonist of the story. Returning to hell, after being teleported to the front gate of the Castle of Love. A magic formation was being performed right at Dia Sung's feet and it quickly spread around. A pair of horns suddenly rose from the ground, then appeared standing in front of the castle door. Its whole body was burning with the power of dark magic. Its sharp hands were pressing on a dragon sword. The system immediately displayed a notification that the difficulty of establishing this castle was unknown, requiring him to defeat the dragon soldier guarding the castle gate. Mission with no time limit. With reward of 10,000 achievement points increase. Balark's castle setup status is currently 0%. Dia Sung was quite worried about this challenge. With his current body, just one sneeze from him would be enough to send him home. But it would be on the lunar month of July or the first and full moon days. His weapons are only the bow and sword of Pastor Od with the ice giant's shield. He threw his weapon down and sat down on the ground. Now he had to sit and calculate carefully before taking action. He had already forgotten how he killed it in the past. Staring thoughtfully at the other two things, his eyes suddenly focused on the ice shield and then looked up at the dragon soldier above. Dia Sung laughed and snapped his fingers, seemingly thinking of a way to deal with the monster. At the B-class gate in Gangbuk, the journalists were surrounded, and the security team was having a headache telling them to stay calm and not to crowd more than a few lines. The flashlight flashed profusely. The reporters are reporting that today is the second attack of the Hai-Duang group after the first defeat. The security team still does not understand where they smelled this news and came here in such large numbers so early. Got an idea. Suddenly the journalists were in a panic when they saw the appearance of S-rank hunter Beck Hazen. This beautiful and hot girl who had just stepped out of the car. The Plus light flashed white with questions like, had she prepared carefully for this time? What is the Haidwang Association's strategy this time? Or the question has nothing to do with the gate as her ideal type? Wherever Beck Harjin went, the boys were bewildered. His stunning beauty made everyone look up longingly. She suddenly stopped to borrow a reporter's mic, causing this guy to almost fall to the ground because he was face to face with the goddess. She picked up the mic not to sing but to announce that to show her determination to stop the crack. The Haidwang Association invited 2 of Korea's top hunters to support. Hearing that, the journalists were in an uproar. The only hunters standing above Beck Harjin were the 2 of them. Everyone thought correctly. I personally invited Mr. Lee Chong-sik and Mr. Seo Dong-chul here. Beck Harjin immediately turned his eyes towards the 2 young men standing in front of the gate, making the journalists go crazy, trying to take close-up photos of their faces. Lee Chong-sik showed a proud look on his face. So this is how she handled the media crisis for the Haidwang Association. Too smart for my woman. But Seo Dong-chul is not that happy. He doesn't like the fact that she leaked information to attract media attention. At that moment, Beck Harjin excitedly walked up to them, happily waving Oppa. Thank you for agreeing to help me. The journalists were frantically composing articles to upload to every forum, with the headline that the combination of Lee Seo Beck for the first time was beneficial or harmful. Just having an article like that reach the top means you won't have to worry about running KPIs this month. Returning to hell. A giant fireball shot straight at the dragon soldier's face. Other balls were also continuously launched and roared towards the monster. Suddenly the purple energy flared up strongly. It opened its eyes and roared loudly. Dia-sung smirked contemptuously and finally woke it up. He immediately took up his weapon and took a fighting stance, turning his concentration to the highest level. If he made just one mistake, he would end up in a haunted house. The unlucky monster jumped up and angrily roared at the damn mouse that had disturbed my sleep. But before he could stand up, he slipped and fell backwards. The huge corpse fell heavily to the ground, shaking the whole area. Dia-sung immediately took that opportunity and rushed forward. His legs suddenly tightened close to the dragon soldier's armpit, but not to tickle him, but to skewer him with a sharp sword. The tip of the sword stopped right above the seal mark on the monster's neck and immediately sank in. An earth-shattering scream rang out. Thunder and lightning crashed. The storm passed, leaving only Dia-sung standing proudly next to a flickering fire. The monster was burned to the ground. But luckily he remembered its weakness at the last moment. So he won. However, both the sword and ice shield were severely damaged and could no longer be used. So he threw them away to lighten the debt. The system immediately displayed a notification that he had taken over the rights of the dragon soldier. Freely entered and exited Balark's castle. Successfully received 10.000 merit points and increased the castle establishment process by 33%. Can I come in now? That's okay because he's lost all his weapons. It's time to go look for some treasures. Remembering the Dia-sung of the past who was not afraid to rush into the living room with the demons. He also felt a little emotional. Inside the castle, there are spears embedded in the walls, and the corridors contain dangerous traps. The system again displayed the task of establishing a castle, requiring him to go to Balark's room, with no time limit and the reward of 5.000 achievement points. Dia-sung's hands fumbled around the wall looking for a secret passage. Dia-sung carefully knocked on each brick but still couldn't find it. God did not disappoint. He knocked until his hand was sore and pressed exactly where it needed to be pressed. A door suddenly appeared and opened in front of Dia-sung. The system popped up again to inform him that he had found Balark's treasure room and was allowed to swallow the items within 5 minutes. It's true that it's still exactly the same as before. Nothing has changed. Inside is still full of genuine armor and swords. Nearly 2 minutes passed but he still couldn't find anything he liked. Then a glowing sword immediately attracted the thief's attention. This is the Black Dragon Sword. a weapon that can cause fatal damage to the Dragon Clan in the underworld. With 3 extremely powerful properties. The first is a 60% power buff when fighting dragons. When used, it can completely resist fear. The second and last is a fatal one-hit special skill reserved only for dragons. What evil have these dragon clans committed that they have a sword to use to overcome them? This sword is the complete opposite of his fire sword. But with previous experience, you must take it with you to be able to go straight into Balark's room, otherwise you will immediately receive a ticket to the other world. With 3 minutes left to pack his things, this second brother was still wondering what to get. The armor that buffed his strength or the gold and silver jewels that signaled a step up to the top. Only 2 minutes left and 5 minutes will be over. Dia Sung is young and I prioritize everything that makes me happy. Money is a fairy or a Buddha. It is the power of springs. It is a measure of people's hearts. It is the laughter of youth, of course. I have to lean towards that huge pile of wealth. After exhausting his efforts, he also received 5.000 achievement points and the castle reconstruction process also reached 66%. Now he can go straight into Balark's room. Just returning to the battle in Gate B at Gangbuk, I saw the gap-toothed monster screaming at him, making Seo Dong Chol's eardrums explode. He gritted his teeth furiously. If that stupid demon didn't close his beak quickly, he would rush up and sew its mouth shut. Of course, not only did it not stay quiet, it also got mad and tried to attack. He tightened his grip on the sword in his hand, killing it with murderous intent. But the stone demon, unaware of it, kept stabbing its head and pounding it with a heavy blow. However, Seo Dong Chul had already jumped on top of its head, slashing straight into the monster's stupid brain. The downward blow was like a bolt of lightning that paralyzed the whole body, causing it to roar in pain and scream to the sky. Seo Dong Chul immediately called on the remaining people to rush forward to attack. And the hunters seemed to be energized and rushed forward. The whole group surrounded the demon and slashed my heart out. But it didn't have any effect, because its entire body is covered with a layer of hard rock. Swords are often difficult to pierce. Seeing Seo Dong Chul's fierce fighting appearance, fangirl Beek Harzan was busy praising her until she heard a loud noise. Call Harzan to break up the party. Glancing back, he immediately saw the infatuated young man Lee Chongshik, his whole body covered in blood. His eyes lowered sadly as if at a funeral. You must promise to go to town with me if this mission is successful. Beek Harzan panicked when he saw his brother struggling to kneel on the ground. Having to rely on his sword to stay steady, she immediately activated her natural healing aura to treat him. It turned out that this woman had healing skills. The first level of a Korean server. A cool stream of energy gently enveloped Lee Chongshik, causing this girl lover to immediately recover his strength. Seeing him happily standing up, laughing and talking, Beek Harzan worriedly asked who made him like this. Just waiting for that. Lee Chong-sik excitedly looked over here. I have a gift for you. Making Beek Harzan gasp in surprise. This super huge head wasn't that of a level 2 dangerous rock demon king. Did you take it down yourself? She exclaimed in awe that made her father fall in love with that girl's delusion of strength. She rushed over, put her arm around her shoulder, and lovingly asked, "Do you think he's cool?" That action made Beek Harzan angry and chased him away if he didn't want to be beaten.